So before I get into my thoughts and opinions, which is what they will be, on Thor Love and Thunder, let me just go ahead and get it out of the way for you guys. I went into it already expecting to hate it. I hate everything Marvel does. I just hate all movies. I can't find anything positive to say about anything that comes out in theaters recently. I'm just a comic book purist. I have to realize that these movies aren't made for people like me. They're made for the general population who does not get into comic books. I think that just about covers the majority of the comments that I'll probably see at the bottom of this video, which don't bother me at all because that doesn't change my opinion on this movie, which I absolutely hated. Yes, you were right. You were right, I hated it, and I feel like I have very good reason to hate it, and we're gonna jump into those right now. Now, the movie did start out pretty decent. When I started watching it, I was like, this has got some hope to, like, okay, this is pretty cool. The starting out with Gorr and showing, you know, how he gets the Necro Sword and that whole entire thing. I was like, okay, this is cool. Except, like, that was it. Like, you don't ever see, you know, Gorr progress throughout the movie at all. Like, he goes from being this weak, puny guy with no hope to a weak, puny guy with no hope and a Necro Sword. I think that pretty much just wraps up Gorr the God Butcher, but we're going to get back into him a little later. Now, I had no plans or intentions of seeing this movie, just was going to skip out on it. However, some friends of mine, they invited me to go, and I didn't want to tell them no, because the last few that they've invited me to, I was not able to go, so I said, all right, I'll go this time, even though I don't care for this movie, care to see this movie. So after Gorr the God Butcher, which I still think that name does not ring true for the character we saw in the film, we start to jump into Thor and get into the story a little bit. That is completely ruined with non-stop, constant, unnecessary humor and jokes and just juvenile. I mean, the whole thing it was just so much, and it just didn't stop. Like, I enjoyed Ragnarok. And Thor, that was kind of where Thor got to be a little more comedic, and, you know, he had the more funny scenes, and that was fine. Because in between all that, he was still Thor. All right, he wasn't just the comedic relief. And I'm gonna touch on Thor again here in a minute. But I mean, it was just like you would have 8 seconds of something serious, and then all of a sudden the humor, and then when they bring the goats in, Jesus, man, like that never stops. It's like you have 8 seconds of something decent and serious, and then all of a sudden. Yeah, I mean, it would just be like, okay, like it was funny the first couple times that we heard it, and then, you know, you're getting into something that might be kind of cool, and then all of a sudden, and it just doesn't stop for the entire movie, it seems like. I mean, every time you think that we're finally going to have a break from these horrible jokes that are just not landing. It doesn't stop. You just continue to get it over and over and over and over. And it's like, dude, not one time was it funny. You know, I mean, I shouldn't say not one time. But like after the first time, okay, it was funny the first time. We don't have to keep doing the jokes and the humor. Like, can we please get into some sort of substance in this movie? At some point, please? I mean, even during the battles, like, it's just a big joke the whole time, half of them. So, I don't know. That was something that really killed the movie for me. And if there's a genre that I watch more than anything, it is comedy. Like, comedy is my favorite genre of film outside of superhero films. But they just went way, way, way overboard with it in this one. And this guy just never needs to be able to do a movie again that has anything to do with superheroes, because I don't even think he understood he was doing a superhero movie. And that has nothing to do with it being comic accurate, but it did not seem like a superhero movie to me, like, ever. It just didn't. It seemed like we were watching a spoof of a superhero movie is exactly what this felt like to me. Thor felt like a spoof on Thor. When I think of Thor, especially, like, we won't even talk about the comics. Okay, we'll talk about throughout the MCU. When I think of Thor, I think of... That's what I think of when I think of Thor. Like, he is a legit badass superhero. Thor is at the top. He is at the pinnacle as far as power levels, as far as being cool, and they completely stripped it all away from Thor in this movie. He's been made out to be nothing more than a clown and a joke. Thor has become more of a comedic relief character than Star-Lord, and that's saying something. And with Star-Lord, they were able to make it work. When they introduced Star-Lord to us, that's what we were introduced to as Star-Lord. He's the funny guy. When you see Star-Lord, you're going to get some jokes. You're going to get the dancing. You're going to get the funny, witty comments all the time. And we did get that with Thor 2 to an extent. But it's like at this point, Thor does not possess the ability to be serious, to be the badass Thor anymore. This is not the Thor that we have seen in the past. This is not a Thor that I believe would come in and save Wakanda and chop Thanos' head off. And this is not the same Thor. It's not. And this Thor is absolute trash. Absolute trash. I mean, he jumps on freaking Stormbreaker and rides it off like a magic broomstick, like he's just a wicked witch of the West. Like, what the hell is that? Why? Why? I mean, it's just stupid. And don't get me started on the weird, goofy triangle of love between him and Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. And Stormbreaker has feelings and is getting jealous and just... if he's, looking at Mjolnir, Stormbreaker just, like, really? Like, this is just stupid. Like, it's just dumb. Absolutely dumb. I don't get it. I mean, they have absolutely trashed the character of Thor at this point in my eyes. And I don't understand why you would go this route. I just don't get it. Small amounts of comedy for the entertainment purposes, that's all well and good, but you can't take this guy and have him riding around on his freaking axe like it's a wicked witch broom and expect me to think that he's the guy that can go and go up against any adversary that's thrown at him and have more than a good shot at beating them. It's not believable at this point. And while we're on characters in the movie that I thought were portrayed terribly, don't even get me started on Gorr. And a lot of people think that I am the one that has been posting all the stuff on Instagram lately, all these hot takes on movies and TV shows and all that. That's not me. All right? That's not me. I did not read the Jason Aaron run, so I really didn't have much to say about Gorr the God Butcher until I saw the movie, which is what everybody kept saying. How about we just watch the movie first? All right, well, I watched the movie first, and guess what? The whole Gorr thing was bullshit. It was absolute trash. Why was it trash? Well, how about the fact that after he picks up the Necro Sword, we see nothing else of his journey, okay? We don't get anything else. And he comes off, when we do see him, half the time he comes off as being like this scary, like, horror type monster, very serious and just driven to accomplish this goal. And then all of a sudden he turns into the clown from It. Or sometimes it's like he's, it's almost like a ripoff of being the Joker. Or like what the hell is going on here? It's just, I did not get it. I did not feel like this character was imposing. He did not look imposing. He did not act imposing. Christian Bale, the reason they went with that look to begin with is because he had 3 days in between filming the movie before this one to filming this one. So he did not have time to beef up and get in enough good shape to portray Gorr the God Butcher as he would have been in the comic books, which is a much more imposing figure. So we're gonna get this wormy little guy that just, I mean, I don't know. They showed us nothing in there that made him look like he was a real threat. How do you go from Thanos? You know what? Let's not even talk about Thanos. Hell, Loki. Loki was more believable in the first Avengers film. I mean, Ultron was more believable as a super threat than Gorr the God Butcher. We just saw Wanda in Doctor Strange, and she was an absolute problem. And then you give us Gorr like this, and you expect us to believe that this guy is some kind of legit threat. Like, they did the shittiest job making him look like he had any way possible of being a threat. I never felt like for a second, like, oh man, like he might kill Valkyrie or Jane or Thor. Like, never thought for a second, like, nope. As a matter of fact, we didn't get to see him kill anybody after he killed the first god, but we'll get into that in a second too. So I just don't understand why the characters were done the way they were. And the last one I'll talk about, I'm not even going to talk about Jane or any of the other ones. Like, we're not even going to talk about them as characters, but I'm going to talk about Zeus. Are you shitting me with what they did to Zeus? Are you kidding me? When I think of Zeus, I think of, just, the just big, monstrous, imposing, just Greek god. I mean, this is Zeus. And what do we get? We get some wimpy guy in a mini skirt and go-go boots that I would buy. I would believe this guy owned a pizza shop and was trying to take my order and ask me what size spaghetti plate I wanted before I would believe that this was Zeus. Okay, this was just horrible. This was probably worse than any of the other. I mean, I think Zeus was probably worse than Gorr was in this movie, and that's saying a lot. Like who could be okay with this? I mean, honestly, I think the Zeus from the Disney Hercules movie from back in the 90s, that is Zeus, okay? I can see that. To me, that is Zeus more than whatever the hell this is we got in this movie. Again, he's not imposing. He doesn't show it all powerful. I mean, he flips his lightning bolt around like, woo-hoo-hoo. Who cares? I mean, there's nothing about this guy that says that he is the pinnacle of Greek god mythology. Nothing about him says that at all. Nothing. He's just this wimpy little guy. Like, I don't understand it. And then once they even go to meet Zeus, like, you already know it's going to be a joke when you start seeing the other gods that are inside the facility they're in. We see Cork's god, and he's sitting on a throne made of rock, paper, scissors. It's got rock, paper, scissors signs on it. Like, really? Like, how old is this guy that did this movie? Taiki or whatever his name is? Like, what are you 14 or are you 12? I mean, would it have killed you to put anything in here that actually made sense or made us feel like that we were supposed to take this movie seriously? I think it would have killed him. It would have. And worse than Korg's God, we've just got some CGI cream puff sitting in a cup or something, like, and that's a god too. Like I mean, what in the hell is this? What is this? And all they're concerned about in the meeting that Zeus is talking about is the yearly orgy, because we gotta have some dumb shit like that in the movie too, right? Like that we gotta throw something like that in there. Has to be in there. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't like it. I think it is just absolutely pointless to have done that to Zeus in that movie. And if they ever had any plans of making Zeus seem like he was going to be some all-powered, almighty character, they have completely shot that. No chance of that happening. Not unless they come up with some kind of way of, oh, that wasn't really Zeus. That was an imposter or some bullcrap like that. I mean, I don't ever see it being able to take that character seriously, ever. And in wrapping up, I want to get to the point of the fact that it felt rushed, but it also felt like they robbed us of so many scenes that would have been awesome to see. Scenes that could have probably made the movie a good movie, could have possibly revived the life in this movie, and maybe made people not hate it so much. Because I know not everybody hated it, but there's a bunch of people out there that hated this movie. But there was so much stuff in there we didn't get to see that is kind of crucial to the storyline. Like, oh, I don't know, how about when Jane walks up to Millionaire and, you know, we see the hammer pieces start shaking, and then all of a sudden, coop, next scene. Okay, so nobody cares about seeing Jane pick up the hammer for the first time and the transformation or any of that. Like, we don't need that at all. Like, we see Jane go from, like, a pitiful hospital patient to Jane, the mighty Thor. Like, how the hell did it happen, though? Nobody knows. Nobody knows, because they didn't think that was important enough to show in the movie. However, we did have to make room so that we could see that they've turned Asgard into freaking Disneyland. So, you know, that was way more important that we get some kind of, you know, theme park Asgard scene in there, which why? But that apparently that was more important than us actually getting to see Thor, mighty Thor, Jane, pick up the hammer for the first time and make the transformation. Another thing that would have been cool to see would have been some of the progression of Gorr the God Butcher. You know, again, we see him going from this wimpy little dude with no hope, and he obtains the Necro Sword, he kills one god, and then the next time we see him, like, he's fighting, he's already fighting Thor and Jane and Valkyrie, and it's on. Like, he is Gorr the God Butcher now. And a lot of people kept saying, like, you can't hate on how the character looks, because as the movie progresses, he's gonna change. Except he didn't. He went from looking like this guy, and then now he looks like this guy. We don't have a damn clue what happened in the middle. All we know is from a computer screen with different little monitors showing that, oh, he killed this god, and he killed this god, and he killed this god, and he killed this god. We didn't get to see any of it. We didn't get to see any character progression of this character throughout the movie. I mean, it was ridiculous. But we did make room so that we could see children who were given the power of Thor wielding teddy bears that have the power of Mjolnir. Why? Why was that more important that we saw that than anything about Gorr the God Butcher's progression from being who he was in the very beginning scene to what is supposed to be an imposing force and someone to be reckoned with? How am I supposed to feel like this guy that is carrying this Necro Sword is a danger to the Earth and the universe when I haven't seen him other than the fact that he was about to die in a desert? That was the last time I saw him. But we made room so that everyone knows that Korg and some dude are making a baby. I mean, why do we have to make room for stuff that nobody cares about? But we can't have room to see Jane Foster pick up Mjolnir. We can't make room to see the progression of Gorr the God Butcher so that maybe someone would take him seriously or even be interested in him at all. Nope, we're going to make room so that we can see the play at the Disneyland Asgard that we've already seen in like every Thor movie. And we have to make room so that we can, like I said, we can see the children wielding teddy bear Mjolnirs. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. We had to see Thor riding a broomstick. I mean, if you would have cut half of these scenes that I mentioned out that would not have changed the movie at all, no impact, you could have actually put something in there that would have positively impacted this movie. But no, we're not going to do that. And we should not be upset about it. We should just be happy we're getting a Thor movie again, and that we're getting to see Gorr the God Butcher, and we don't have any, there's no room for us to be upset or picky about how we get it or how they do the characters. We just have to deal with it. Okay. Well, I guess so. So, You know, if you enjoyed the movie, then I'm happy for you. Happy that you enjoyed that 2 hours. But I see no redeeming qualities in this movie at all. Not any whatsoever. And I hope that this is not a sign of where the MCU is going, because if it is, then you can consider the MCU. I'll consider the MCU died with Robert Downey Jr. and Thanos, because if this is the direction they're going, I don't want any part of it. And I love Marvel. I really do. I love Marvel. I love DC too. You know, I don't consider my guy a Marvel guy, or I don't consider myself a DC guy. I just like comic books, and I like the characters. And, you know, for them, I've loved a bunch of the movies. I've loved a bunch of the movies. The ratio of movies that I have loved to the ones that I didn't care for, it's huge. It's huge. This movie doesn't even get to go in this pile. It's like on the floor. This movie goes in a category all by itself. This will go down forever, to me, as the worst MCU movie ever done. There was nothing about it that was good. No redeeming qualities whatsoever. The entire thing, I hated every bit of it. So, if you got this far into the video without already doing it, drop me a comment. Let me know why you think I'm wrong, and I will appreciate your opinion as much as I'm sure you appreciate all of mine when it comes to Thor, Love and Thunder. So hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Hit the thumbs down if you didn't. Doesn't matter. And if you enjoy our content, please hit that subscribe button so you get to see more of it. It doesn't cost anything to hit that button. It just makes sure that the algorithm throws a little bit of us your way on your YouTube timeline. So guys, hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. And as always, collect your way.